Picture yourself nestled in a quiet corner of the world, where the hum of modern life fades into a gentle hush, leaving only the soft rhythm of your breath and the flicker of distant memories, waiting to unfold. Tonight, there's no need to chase the clamor of the present, let it slip away, like leaves carried on a slow-moving stream, as we embark on a tranquil journey into a time long past, where ancient forests whispered secrets to those who dared to listen, where gods of storm and harvest demanded devotion, and where the cycles of nature wove life and death into a single, unbroken thread. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a frozen landscape, the air sharp with the scent of pine and snow, your senses alive to the weight of a world both beautiful and unyielding. This is not a tale of heroes or conquests, but of ordinary souls caught in the solemn dance of belief, of rituals that bound communities to their gods through acts of awe and sacrifice. We'll wander through the sacred groves of 9th century Scandinavia, where the great tree of Uppsala stood heavy with offerings. We'll linger by the fires of Celtic lands, where whispers of wicker men rose with the smoke. We'll peer into the silent bogs that cradle their ancient dead, and we'll step into the halls of kings who knelt to Christ yet feared the old god's wrath. These stories are not meant to startle or thrill, but to wrap you in a tapestry of history so rich, so measured, that your mind may drift, your eyes grow heavy, and sleep creeps in like a welcome guest. So let us begin where the cold bites deepest, where the solstice casts its long shadow over a sacred grove in Uppsala, and where you, a bondsman bound by fate, stand on the threshold of a ritual that will echo through the ages. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a frost-bitten clearing, your breath forming fragile clouds, in the biting air of a 9th century Swedish winter, where the solstice sun hangs low, casting a pale ghostly light across the snow-draped pines that encircle the sacred grove of Uppsala, a place where the earth itself seems to hum with the weight of ancient rites and the gods. Unyielding gaze, you are a bondsman, your hands calloused from years of hauling timber, grinding barley, and mending nets in the dim glow of a longhouse fire, your life one of toil and survival, taken in tribute from a defeated clan after a raid that left your village in ashes, your fate now tied to the will of strangers who speak of gods you only half understand. Today is no ordinary day, for the air is thick with the scent of pine, damp earth, and something sharper, something metallic, like the tang of blood that lingers in your nostrils as you are led toward the heart of the grove, where the great temple of Uppsala looms nearby, its wooden walls carved with twisting runes and images of Odin with his piercing eye, Thor with his mighty hammer, and Freyr with his promise of fertile fields. You were chosen weeks ago, though the truth settled over you slowly, like snow pining on a roof. When the chieftain's men came to the longhouse, their faces stern, their voices low, speaking of the gods' hunger, of the need to ensure the spring's return, the crop's growth, and the clan's survival through the harsh northern winters. Your name was drawn by lots cast in the firelight, a moment that felt both random and fated. And now you stand among others, 8 others. To be precise, for 9 humans and 9 animals will be offered over 9 days. A rhythm as old as the stars that glitter coldly above. There's a young woman beside you, her fingers clutching a tattered woolen cloak, her eyes wide but unseeing, and an old man, his hands trembling as he mutters prayers to gods you've heard named in whispers: Odin, the All-Father, who hung himself on the world tree for wisdom; Thor, who guards the world with his thunder; and Freyr, who brings life to the barren earth. The priests move among you, their faces painted with ash and ochre, their furs heavy with bronze amulets that clink softly as they walk, their voices calm, almost tender, as they guide you through the rituals of purification, leading you to a stream so cold it stings your skin, the water tugging at your legs like the hands of unseen spirits, while they chant words that blend with the wind, invoking the gods' names in a cadence that feels like the pulse of the earth itself. They give you a bitter drink brewed from herbs you cannot name, perhaps yarrow or wormwood, and it dulls the sharp edges of your fear, leaving you floating in a strange, heavy calm, as if your body already knows what your mind cannot yet grasp. The grove itself is a place of stark, haunting beauty, its ancient oak at the center towering like a god, its gnarled branches stretching toward the sky scarred with the marks of countless offerings, its roots drinking deep from soil that has known blood. For generations, while smaller trees stand like silent sentinels, their branches bear their shadows. Long in the fading light, the crowd gathers now, men, women, children, their faces a mix of awe and dread, drawn from villages miles away to witness this moment, to see the gods appeased. Their breath rising in clouds, their hands clutching furs and cloaks against the cold. The animals are brought first horses, their coats gleaming despite the chill led with reverence too. The sacred tree, their throats cut with a single practiced stroke, their blood soaking into the snow. Staining it, a dark glistening red, their bodies hung from the branches like offerings to the sky. Then come the cattle lowing softly, their heavy forms swaying as they are led forward, their lives given swiftly, their weight added to the tree. The dogs follow small and loyal, their tails still wagging as they meet their end. A reminder that all life is sacred, all life is owed. The crowd watches in silence, their murmurs hushed like the rustle of leaves in a distant forest as the priests move with deliberate care, their hands steady there. Voices a low chant that seems to weave the grove into a single, living moment. You watch as the first human offering is led forward, a warrior captured in battle, his face proud. Even now his eyes fixed on the horizon as the priests speak of his courage, of how his blood will carry messages to Odin, who knows the cost of sacrifice. The rope is placed around his neck, and he does not struggle, does not cry out as he is lifted into the air, his body swaying gently, the creak of the rope blending with the wind, the grove falling silent, save for that soft, mournful sound. Your turn comes on the third day, and the priests have tended to you with care, feeding you bread and mead, wrapping you in a clean woolen cloak, speaking of honor, of how your sacrifice will ensure the gods' favor, how your name will live in the skald's songs, though their words feel distant like waves lapping at a far-off shore. Your hands tremble as they are bound with soft leather cords, your heart beating steadily, though a heaviness settles into your bones, a resignation that feels like the cold itself. The sacred tree looms before you, its branches heavy with the forms of those who came before. The snow beneath it a dark circle, pulsing with the memory of life given freely. The priests guide you forward, their hands firm but not unkind, their voices steady as they speak the final words of the ritual, and you smell the smoke from the fires at the grove's edge, the tang of iron and salt, the crowd's faces blurred in the dim light of the solstice sun. The blade is cold against your throat, sharp and certain, and the priest's voice is gentle, almost a whisper. As he invokes the gods one final time, there is a brief sting, a warmth, and then nothing. The grove fades, the tree fades, the faces dissolve into darkness, and your life joins the earth, your body joins the tree, woven into the cycle that has turned for centuries and will turn for centuries more. But let us step back, away from that final moment, to the world that shaped it. For to understand why you would not survive this sacrifice, we must know the rhythm of life in 9th century Scandinavia, a world of harsh winters, fragile harvests, and a spirituality that wove itself into every breath. As a bondsman, your days were filled with labor hauling water from frozen streams, splitting wood for the longhouse fire, tending animals that sustained the clan through lean months, your body aching from the cold, your hands rough from the work. The longhouse was the heart of the community, a long, low building of timber and turf, its air thick with smoke, sweat, and the smell of drying fish, where the chieftain and his family lived alongside thralls and bondsmen. The hierarchy clear, but the space shared, you slept on a bench near the wall, straw prickling your skin, the cold seeping through your thin cloak. Your meals simple barley porridge, salted fish, a scrap of bread or meat if the hunt was good. The gods were ever present, their names whispered in every task, Freyr invoked when sowing seeds, Thor offered meat before a storm, Odin's name spoken only in war or wisdom, his shadow looming over the skald's tales. The sacred grove was not a daily destination, reserved instead for moments when the veil between worlds grew thin, but its presence was felt everywhere, a reminder that the gods watched, demanded, could not be ignored. The sacrifice at Uppsala held every 9 years, was a rare and profound event, its details preserved in the Heimskringla's sagas and Adam of Bremen's accounts, the latter writing from his monastery with a mix of horror and fascination, describing bodies hung from trees, left to sway until they rotted, while the sagas spoke of honor, balance, the necessity of giving what was owed for you, the bondsman. The sacrifice was not a choice, but a destiny, your selection, not a mark of strength or sin, but a sign from the gods, your death a bridge to their favor, your life. A thread in the clan's survival. The grove was a place of stark beauty, its oak ancient, its bark scarred, its branches heavy with offerings, the snow trampled by the crowd, their breath rising, their faces lit by torches. The ritual unfolded over days, each moment deliberate, the animals sacrificed first, their blood a prelude to the humans, horses for strength, cattle for sustenance, dogs for loyalty. The human offerings varied, some captives like you, others volunteers, others marked by signs only. The priests could read their deaths by hanging, bleeding, or drowning in sacred springs, the method less important than the act, the giving of life to ensure life. The crowd feasted, sang past bowls of mead, the skulls weaving tales of Odin's sacrifice. Thor's battles, Freyr's peace, the sacrifices, not an end, but a renewal, a covenant with the gods. For you the world ended in the grove, your life woven into the cycle of birth, death, rebirth, a rhythm that shaped Uppsala, a reminder of the fragility of existence, not cruel but necessary, sacred. Imagine yourself now as one of the crowd watching from the grove's edge, the snow crunching, the scent of pine and blood in the air, the priest's chants humming in your bones, the tree standing tall, its roots drinking deep, you part of this moment, part of a world both beautiful and unforgiving. And now let us leave the grove, the cold, the blood, the solstice passing as the world turns toward spring, our journey, leading us now to another land, another time, where gods were honored not with blood but with fire, where a Roman general's words shaped a story of sacrifice that echoes through the ages, a tale of wicker and flame waiting to unfold. Imagine yourself standing on the windswept plains of Gaul in the shadow of a looming structure, woven from willow and straw, its shape vaguely human, its silhouette stark against the grey sky of a late autumn afternoon in the 1st century BCE, where the air carries the scent of damp grasswood smoke and the faint tang of fear. You are not a warrior or a noble, but a simple villager, perhaps a farmer who tends fields of barley and milled, your hands rough from years of ploughing and sowing, your life bound to the rhythms of the seasons and the will of the gods, revered by your people, the Celts, whose druids, priests, poets, and keepers of ancient wisdom move among the gathered crowd with an air of quiet authority, their white robes catching the fading light as they prepare a ritual that has stirred whispers of awe and dread for generations. The structure before you is the wicker man, a towering effigy said to be filled with offerings, animals perhaps, or prisoners taken in battle, their fates sealed by the needs of the gods and the words of the druids, who speak of balance, of appeasing the deities who govern the harvest, the sun, and the turning of the world. You have heard tales of this rite passed down in hushed tones around the hearth, but today you stand a witness, your heart heavy with the weight of what is to come, though the druids' voices are calm, their chants rising like the wind, weaving a spell of reverence that dulls the edges of your unease. The Roman legions are not far off, their standards glinting on the horizon, led by a general named Julius Caesar, whose ambition burns brighter than any sacrificial fire, his eyes fixed on Gaul, not just as a land to conquer, but as a stage for his own glory, his writings later claiming that the Celts burn men alive in these woven giants, a claim that will echo through history, shaping the way the world sees your people. But let us linger here, in this moment, before the flames, before the clash of iron and the fall of empires, to understand the world of the Celts, the role of the Druids, and the truth or myth of the Wicker Man, a story told as much by a Romanesque pen as by the whispers of those who lived it. Your life as a villager is one of toil, rising with the dawn to tend crops, to herd sheep across rolling hills, to gather wood for the fires that warm your roundhouse, its walls of wattle and daub thick with the smell of earth and straw, its roof thatched against the rains that sweep through Gaul in endless cycles. You live in a community bound by kinship where the harvest is shared, where stories of gods, like Taranis the Thunderer and Cernnos the Horned One, are woven into every task, their names invoked. As you sow seeds or slaughter livestock, their presence felt in the rustle of leaves and the crackle of lightning. The druids are the heart of this world, not just priests but judges, healers, and keepers of the oral traditions that hold your people together. Their knowledge of the stars, the seasons, and the will of the gods guiding the community. Through times of plenty and want, they gather in sacred groves where oaks stand, all their branches heavy with mistletoe cut with golden sickles, in rituals that honor the divine balance of life and death. You have seen them settle disputes, their words carrying the weight of law, or offer sacrifices, usually animals, their blood spilled on stone altars to ensure the gods' favor. The whispers speak of rarer, graver offerings of men and women given to the gods in times of great need, when famine threatens or enemies press too close. The wicker man, if it exists, is one such offering, a structure built with care, its frame woven by skilled hands, its purpose both solemn and terrifying, though the truth of it is shrouded in the mists of time, for no Celt left written records, and the story comes to us through Caesar, a man whose quill was as sharp as his sword. In his commentaries on the Gallic War, he writes of the Celts with a mixture of fascination and disdain, describing a people who filled great wicker figures with living men, thieves, prisoners, or those chosen by fate, and set them ablaze, their screams rising to the heavens as an offering to the gods. His words paint a picture of barbarity, a justification for Rome's conquest. For how could a civilized people allow such practices to stand? Yet, as you stand here, watching the druids move through the crowd, their faces calm, their voices steady, you wonder if Caesar's words are truth or a tool, a story spun to rally his legions and win favor in Rome. Where tales of savage rites would stir both fear and resolve, archaeology offers no clear answer. For no charred remains of wicker men had been found, no ash-filled pits to confirm Caesar's tale, though the Celts' reverence for fire is undeniable, seen in the bonfires of Samhain when the veil between worlds grows thin, or in the offerings cast into rivers and lakes, their surfaces gleaming with bronze swords and golden torques. Some scholars suggest the wicker man was real, a rare ritual reserved for moments of crisis, when the gods demanded more than cattle or grain, while others argue it was propaganda, a distortion of Celtic practices meant to dehumanize a people who fought fiercely against Rome's advance. The druids themselves are a mystery, their teachings unwritten, their rituals passed down through memory, and Caesar's account of them is both admiring and condemning, calling them wise yet barbaric, leaders who held sway over life and death. You, the villager, know them as figures of reverence, their presence a comfort, their knowledge a shield against the chaos of the world. The ritual before you, if it happens, is not one of cruelty, but of necessity, a giving back to the gods who give life, a balance struck in fire and smoke. The crowd around you is quiet, their faces lit by the flicker of torches, their breath visible in the chill air as the druids chant. Their words a rhythm that seems to pulse with the earth itself. The wicker man stands tall, its frame creaking in the wind, and you cannot see inside, cannot know if it holds animals or men, only that the fire will come, its heat a promise, its light a bridge to the divine. The flames, when they rise, are slow at first, licking at the base of the structure, then climbing higher, the crackle of burning wood blending with the druids' chants, the smoke curling toward the sky like a prayer. You feel the warmth on your face, the scent of burning straw filling your lungs. And there is no horror here, only a strange solemnity, a sense that the world is being set right, that the gods are listening. Caesar's legions are closer now, their march a distant rumble, their swords a threat to the life you know, and the druids speak of resistance, of honoring the gods to strengthen the tribes against the invaders, though you know, deep in your bones, that the world is changing, that the old ways are slipping away like sand through your fingers. The fire burns higher, the wicker man consumed, its form collapsing into embers, and the crowd murmurs, their voices a soft hum, not of fear but of reverence. For this is not an end but a continuation, a cycle that turns as surely as the seasons. Let us step back now, away from the flames, away from the plains of Gaul, to consider the world that shaped this moment, for the Celts were not a single people but many, their tribes scattered across hills and rivers, their lives tied to the land, their gods as varied as the stars, their villages were clusters of roundhouses, their fields marked by stone walls, their days filled with the work of survival ploughing, weaving, forging iron in small, smoky forges. The Druids were their guides, their voices carrying the weight of centuries, their rituals of thread that bound the living to the dead, the mortal to the divine. Caesar's conquest was not just a war of swords, but of stories, his words shaping the Celts as savages to justify his ambition, though his own accounts hint at their complexity, their courage, their refusal to bend easily to Rome's will. The wicker man, whether real or imagined, became a symbol of that struggle, a tale of fire and sacrifice that lingers in the imagination, its truth less important than its meaning. As a villager, you knew the world through the seasons, through the songs of the bards, through the Druids' teachings, and the fire before you was not a spectacle but a necessity, a way to speak to the gods. In a language older than words, the Romans would come, their roads and cities spreading like roots through the earth, but for now you stand in the glow of the fire, the smoke rising, the Druids' voices fading into the night, and you feel the weight of a world that is both eternal and fleeting. Now let us leave the plains of Gaul, the embers cooling, the crowd dispersing into the darkness, and turn our gaze northward to the silent bogs of Europe, where the earth holds its breath, preserving secrets in its cold, dark embrace, where bodies lie untouched by time, their stories waiting to be told. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a still, dark bog, its surface like polished obsidian under a clouded sky, the air heavy with the scent of wet peat and decaying leaves. Somewhere in the northern reaches of Europe, perhaps Denmark, Ireland, or Germany in the Iron Age, a time when the world was shaped by the slow turn of seasons and the silent presence of gods who dwelled in earth and water. You are a member of a small community, your days spent tending fields of barley, weaving wool into rough cloth, or forging iron tools in a smoky hut, your life bound to the land and the cycles that govern it. But today you are here, at the bog's edge, where the ground is soft and treacherous, where the air feels thick with an unspoken reverence, as if the earth itself is listening. The bog is no ordinary place, it is a threshold, a liminal space where the mortal and divine meet, where offerings are made to gods whose names are whispered in awe, gods of fertility, of water, of the underworld. You have heard tales of those given to the bog, their bodies swallowed by its cold embrace, preserved as if frozen in time, their stories locked in the peat like secrets kept by the earth. Today, you are not an offering but a witness, standing among others from your village, your breath visible in the chill air, your hands clutching a cloak against the damp that seeps into your bones. The priests, or perhaps they are elders, move with quiet purpose, their faces lined with the weight of their task, their voices low as they chant words you only half understand, words that speak of balance, of giving back to the gods who give life, of ensuring the harvest, the rains, the survival of your people. The figure before you, the one chosen, is calm, their eyes distant, as if already halfway between worlds, their body wrapped in a simple linen tunic, their hair braided with care, a bowl of porridge still warm in their stomach from the ritual meal. Shared at dawn, the bog waits, its surface unbroken, its depths a mystery, and as you watch, you feel the weight of this moment, not with fear but with a strange heavy awe. For this is not a place of cruelty but of reverence, a place where life and death are woven together like threads in a loom. The chosen one steps forward, guided by the elders, their feet sinking into the soft earth, and you cannot look away as they are lowered into the water, their bodies slipping beneath the surface with barely a ripple, the bog closing over them like a mother's embrace. The crowd is silent, the only sound the soft gurgle of the water and the distant call of a bird, and you feel the earth shift slightly as if accepting the gift. This is the world of the bog bodies, those found centuries later. Tolland man, Graubeil man, Lindo man, preserved in the peat with such clarity that their faces seem to sleep, their hair intact, their skin darkened but whole, their eyes forever closed, let us linger here, not to dwell on the act itself, but to explore the world that shaped it, the beliefs that gave it meaning, the mysteries that linger in the mud. The Iron Age was a time of small scattered communities, their lives tied to the land, their homes built of wood and earth, their fields carved from forests and bogs, their days filled with the work of survival, planting, harvesting, herding, crafting. The bogs were not just obstacles, but sacred places, their waters seen as gateways to the divine, their depths a repository for offerings, swords, shields, jewelry, and sometimes it seemed human lives. Archaeology has uncovered dozens of these bodies across northern Europe, each a window into a world long gone, their stories pieced together from the clues they carry. Tolland man, found in Denmark in 1950, lies as if sleeping, his face serene, a rope around his neck, his last meal a porridge of barley and flaxseed, eaten 12 to 24 hours before his death around 400 BCE. Graubale man, also from Denmark, bears the marks of a slit throat, his body curled as if in rest, his stomach holding traces of ergot, a fungus that may have induced visions or marked him as cursed. Lindo man found in England was struck on the head, garroted and drowned, his body a testament to a ritual so deliberate it speaks of purpose, not violence. Who were these people? Criminals, as some suggest, punished for crimes against the community, which is marked by signs only the priests could read. Kings or nobles are offered to ensure the god's favor, or beloved members of the tribe, chosen to carry messages to the divine. The truth is elusive, for the Iron Age left no written records, only the silent testimony of the peat. Some scholars argue these were sacrifices tied to seasonal rites, to the turning of spring or the harvest's end, when the gods demanded a price for their gifts. Others see them as executions, a way to cleanse the community of those who broke its laws, their bodies given to the bog to keep them from haunting the living. Still others propose they were offerings of love, chosen not for punishment but for honor, their deaths a bridge to the gods, who guarded the fields and waters. The bog itself is a marvel, it's acidic, oxygen-poor waters preserving flesh and bone where time should have erased them, the peat staining, skin a deep brown, hair turning red or gold, clothes and ropes enduring centuries. You, the villager, would not have known this, only that the bog was sacred, its depths a place of power, its surface a mirror reflecting the sky. Your life was one of labor, rising before dawn to tend crops, to milk goats, to spin wool by the firelight, your home a roundhouse with a central hearth, its air thick with smoke, and the smell of bread baking on hot stones. The community was small, perhaps a dozen families, their lives intertwined, their survival dependent on the land and the gods who governed it. Festivals marked the year Samhain, when the dead were said to walk, Beltane, when fires burned to welcome the sun, and smaller rites when offerings were cast into rivers or buried in fields. The bog was part of this cycle, its waters a place to give thanks, to seek favor, to restore balance. The elders spoke of the gods, perhaps Nerthus, a goddess of the earth whose name lingers in old tales, or unnamed deities of water and fertility, their presence felt in the rustle of reeds, the ripple of the bog's surface. The ritual you witness is not frequent, perhaps once in a generation, reserved for moments of great need, famine, plague, or the threat of war, when the god's favor was worth any price. The chosen one, you learn, was not taken by force but prepared, fed a ritual meal, their body anointed with oils, their hair braided, their death a solemn act, not a punishment. The crowd watches, their faces calm, their hands steady, for this is not a moment of fear but of unity, a shared act of faith. The bog bodies, when found centuries later, tell us more. Some bear marks of violence, others none, their stomachs holding seeds and grains, their clothes simple but cared for, their deaths often quick but deliberate. Tolland man's rope suggests hanging, a method tied to Odin in later Norse tales, though the Iron Age predates those stories. Graubale man's throat was cut, his body placed with care, his face peaceful. Lindo man's triple death blow, garret, drowning, hints at a ritual so complex it defies easy explanation. The peat preserves not just bodies but moments, freezing them in time, their stories a puzzle we can only half solve. The bog was not a place of horror, but of reverence. Its waters a gateway, its depths a home for the divine. Your life as a villager was shaped by this belief, by the knowledge that the gods were near, their presence felt in every storm, every harvest, every birth and death. The community gathered often, not just for rituals, but for feasts, for storytelling, for the work that bound you together, building homes, forging tools, weaving cloth. The bog was always there, a constant in a world of change, its surface, comets, secrets hidden. Archaeology reveals more than bones, pottery, tools, offerings of bronze and gold, all cast into the bog, all given to the gods. The bodies, though, are the most haunting, their faces human, their stories silent. Their deaths a mystery we can only approach with awe. The Iron Age was a time of transition, when bronze gave way to iron, when tribes grew stronger, their lives more settled, their beliefs more complex. The bog bodies spanned centuries, from 800 BCE to the early centuries CE. Their deaths a thread that ties them to a world we can barely imagine. You, standing at the bog's edge, feel the weight of this moment. The earth beneath your feet soft and yielding, the air thick with the scent of peat. The silence a kind of prayer, the ritual ends. The crowd disperses, their footsteps fading into the dusk, and you return to your life, to the fields and the fire, to the rhythm of days that will carry on until the next offering, the next moment when the gods call. The bog remains, its surface still, its secrets safe, a testament to a people who lived close to the earth, who honored it with their lives and their deaths. Now let us step away from the bog, from its cold dark waters, and turn our gaze to the halls of kings where new gods were rising, but the old ones lingered, their whispers heard in the shadows of longhouses, their power felt in the hearts of those who ruled. Imagine yourself standing in the flickering light of a longhouse, its timber walls blackened by years of smoke, the air thick with the scent of burning pine, roasted meat, and the faint sweetness of mead. Somewhere in early medieval Scandinavia or Anglo-Saxon England in the 9th or 10th century, where the world is caught between the old gods and the new, a time when the cross of Christ casts its shadow over sacred groves. Yet the names of Odin, Thor, and Freyr still linger in the hearts of those who rule. You are not a king, nor a noble, but a member of the household, perhaps a servant or a craftsman, your hands skilled at carving wood or spinning wool, your days spent in the service of a lord whose power rests on both the sword and the will of the divine. The longhouse is alive tonight, its benches filled with warriors, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the hearth. But there is a tension in the air, a quiet unease, for your Lord, recently baptized in the name of the Christian God, has called for a ritual that feels older, heavier. Its roots deep in the earth. The chapel stands nearby, its wooden cross gleaming in the moonlight. But here, in the longhouse, the old ways hold sway. You sense the presence of the gods your ancestors knew, their names whispered in secret, their power undimmed by the new faith. The king, or perhaps he is a chieftain, sits at the head of the hall, his face lined with the weight of his choices, his crown a symbol of authority, but also a burden, for he must navigate a world where Christ demands loyalty, yet the old gods demand respect. You have heard tales of Blotswain, a Swedish king who clung to the old rites and met his end in sacrifice, his blood spilled to appease the gods he could not forsake, and of King Olaf, whose campaigns to spread Christianity were marked by both zeal and compromise, his sword baptized, but his heart still tied to the sacred groves. Tonight, the ritual is hidden, cloaked in the guise of a feast, but you know its purpose: to honor the old gods, to ensure their favor, to keep the balance that has sustained your people through centuries of frost and famine. The air is warm, the fire casting long shadows. You move quietly among the gathered, pouring mead into carved wooden cups, your ears catching fragments of conversation, whispers of Thor's hammer, of Freyr's promise of fertile fields, of Odin's wisdom sought in times of war. The king rises, his voice steady but low, speaking of unity, of the need to honor the past while embracing the future. You notice the amulet at his neck, a cross nestled beside a small hammer of Thor, a silent testament to his divided heart. The ritual begins not with blood, but with offerings of bread and mead, poured onto the earth outside the longhouse. where a small stone altar stands, half hidden by snow, its surface worn by years of use. The crowd follows, their footsteps soft, their faces calm, for this is not a moment of fear but of continuity, a thread that ties the present to the past. You recall the stories of your childhood, told by the firelight, of gods who walked among men, of trees that held the world together, of springs and bogs where offerings were made to ensure the sun's return. The Christian priests who now hold sway in the king's court speak of sin and salvation. But here, in the shadow of the longhouse, the old gods are not forgotten, their names spoken in hushed tones, their rites adapted to fit the new world. The king himself leads the offering, his hand steady as he pours mead onto the altar, his voice chanting words that feel ancient, their rhythm like the pulse of the earth. You stand at the edge of the crowd, your breath visible in the cold, your hands clutching your cloak. You feel the weight of this moment, not as a rebellion against the new faith but as a bridge, a way to honor both the cross and the hammer. The longhouse and the chapel stand side by side, their coexistence uneasy but necessary, for the people here are not ready to let go of the gods who shaped their world. The king's actions are not open defiance but a careful dance, a way to keep his people united, to ensure their loyalty, to ward off the chaos that comes when old ways are uprooted too quickly. You have seen this before, in other halls, other winters, when Christian kings allowed sacrifices in secret, when priests turned a blind eye to offerings made under the stars. The sagas speak of such moments, of rulers like Hakon the Good, who accepted baptism but still honored Thor in private, or of Anglo-Saxon kings who built churches yet kept sacred springs flowing. The ritual tonight is small, almost hidden, but it carries the weight of centuries, of a people who know the gods are not easily dismissed. You move back inside, the warmth of the longhouse enveloping you, the fire's glow a comfort against the cold. You listen as the skald begins to sing, his voice low and steady, telling of Odin's sacrifice on the world tree, of Thor's battles with the giants, of Freyr's gift of peace. The crowd listens, their faces soft in the firelight, their hearts stirred by tales that feel as real as the earth beneath their feet. The king sits quietly, his eyes distant. You wonder what he sees. Perhaps the faces of his ancestors, perhaps the gods themselves, or perhaps the future, where the old ways will fade, replaced by stone churches and Latin prayers. But for now, the old gods linger, their presence felt in the smoke, the mead, the rhythm of the skald's song. Your life as a member of this household is one of labor, of loyalty, of quiet faith, whether to the new god or the old. You rise before dawn to tend the fire, to clean the hall, to prepare meals of barley bread and salted fish, your days blending into one another, marked by the seasons and the festivals that punctuate them. The Christian feasts are new, Christmas, Easter, but the old ones remain. Samine's fires, Yule's long nights, the rituals woven into the new faith like threads in a tapestry. The king's court is a place of tension, where missionaries preach and warriors grumble, where the cross is raised but the hammer is not forgotten. You have seen the priests, their robes plain, their voices sharp, warning of hellfire, but you have also seen the people slip away to the groves, to the springs, to offer small tokens, a coin, a piece of bread, a whispered prayer. The king himself walks this line, his baptism a public act, his loyalty to the old gods a private one, his rule a balance between the two. The story of Blotswain lingers in your mind, a king who refused to abandon the old ways, who led sacrifices in the sacred grove, only to be offered himself when his people turned against him, his blood a final gift to the gods he loved. King Olaf, too, is a name spoken often, his campaigns to spread Christianity fierce but incomplete, for even he allowed the old rites in moments of need, his heart torn between the cross and the hammer. The longhouse tonight is a microcosm of this world, its walls holding both the new and the old, its fire a symbol of continuity, its smoke curling toward the gods, whether they be one or many. You move among the crowd, your hands steady as you pour more mead, your ears catching the skald's words, his voice a lullaby that soothes the soul. The ritual ends, the offerings made, the crowd returning to their benches, their laughter softer now, their faces heavy with the weight of what they have done. The king sits in silence, his amulet glinting in the firelight. You feel a strange peace, a sense that the world for now is in balance. The chapel outside stands quiet, its cross a promise of a new dawn. But the longhouse holds the past, its warmth a reminder of the gods who still watch. Your life goes on, day after day, season after season, the rhythm of work and faith unbroken. The old gods and the new sharing space in your heart, just as they do in the king's. The early medieval world is one of change, of Viking raids and Christian missions, of longhouses giving way to churches, of oral tales being written in Latin. But here, in this moment, the old ways endure, their rituals hidden but not lost, their gods honored in the shadows. You feel the weight of history, not as a burden but as a comfort, a reminder that life is a cycle, that the past is never truly gone. The fire burns low, the scold's voice fades, the longhouse grows quiet, the crowd drifting towards sleep, their dreams filled with gods and kings, with groves and altars, with a world that is both ancient and alive. Now, let us step away from the longhouse, from the fire's glow and the weight of divided loyalties. Turn our thoughts to the broader tapestry of this journey, to the groves, the fires dot the bogs, and the halls where the past whispers to us, inviting us to reflect on a world long gone but never forgotten. As we prepare to close this tale, imagine yourself now not in the frost-bitten groves of Uppsala, nor on the windswept plains of Gaul, nor at the still edge of a dark bog, nor even in the smoky warmth of a longhouse, where kings balanced old gods against the new, but instead in the quiet comfort of your own space, the weight of the past settling around you like a soft blanket, its stories woven into the fabric of this moment as you drift toward the gentle embrace of sleep. We have journeyed together through a world where belief shaped every breath, where the gods of earth and sky demanded offerings of blood, fire, and faith, where the cycles of nature were honored with rituals both solemn and unyielding, and where the line between the mortal and the divine was as thin as a whisper. In the sacred grove of Uppsala, we walked with the bondsman, feeling the cold bite of winter and the weight of a fate sealed by the gods' hunger. The scent of pine and blood lingering in the air as the great tree stood witness to a cycle that turned for centuries. In Gaul, we stood before the towering wicker man, its flames rising to the sky, its truth blurred by the words of a Roman general, whose ambition cast long shadows over the Celts' defiance. In the bogs of northern Europe, we peered into the peat where bodies lay preserved, their faces serene, their stories locked in silence, speaking of reverence, justice, or sacrifice, their lives given to gods whose names we can only guess. And in the halls of early medieval kings, we saw the uneasy dance between cross and hammer, where rulers baptized in Christ's name still poured mead onto ancient altars, their hearts torn between new promises and old fears. These stories, drawn from sagas, Roman chronicles, and the silent testimony of archaeology, are not just relics of a distant past but echoes of a human need to find meaning, to seek balance, to honor the forces that shape the world. They remind us of a time when life was fragile, when winters were harsh, when harvests were uncertain, and when the gods were as close as the wind in the trees or the ripple of a spring. Yet here you are in the present, where the air is warm, where the weight of survival no longer demands such offerings, where the past can be visited not with fear but with curiosity. Its lessons a gentle hum in the background of your thoughts. The groves have grown quiet, their trees felled or forgotten, the wicker men reduced to embers in the pages of history, the bogs now studied rather than revered, the longhouses replaced by stone churches and modern homes. But the rhythm of those lives, their faith, their struggles, their quiet moments of awe, lingers in the stories we tell, in the way we still look to the stars or the seasons for meaning. As you lie here, your breath slowing, your eyes growing heavy, let the weight of this journey slip away like leaves carried on a stream, and feel the comfort of now, where the gods no longer demand blood, where the fires are for warmth, not sacrifice, and where sleep is a gift, not an offering. Let the sacred groves, the burning effigies, the silent bogs, and the halls of divided kings fade into the distance. Their stories a soft lullaby that carries you toward rest, a reminder that the past, though heavy, is also a place of wonder. Its whispers a gentle invitation to close your eyes and dream.